right, I'm Joey.
And I'm Alex.
And we are here to review a game that we've been waiting on for a while from Kickstarter.
Yes.
We are reviewing Carnival Zombie.
Ta-da!
Right here. Can you see me over this?
Yeah.
Big box.
It's
I
a
only
huge
brought
box.
the cover because it's a big box.
It's a huge box.
This we backed a long time ago.
Kickstarter?
Yes, Kickstarter, and honestly, it was so long ago that when I backed it, this was considered modern attire.
Yes, it was. I know, right?
That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't been that long.
No.
It has been a while. There were a lot of hiccups, but it finally came.
Finally.
So
Did you even know it was coming? Like, was it just like a surprise? It's here.
This is one that I watched for a while, and then I kind of just gave up.
Okay.
I thought, you know what? It's never going to come.
Nope.
Not going to happen. And it did come.
Wow.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
So we are going to see if it's actually now. All things said, I have not played the first edition. So
Okay.
this is a fresh look at the Carnival Zombie type system.
Okay.
I know this is the second edition.
Okay.
So I looked at this as a fresh game. So I'm not comparing it to anything.
No.
I'm going to see how this is as a game.
I agree.
So before we talk about our review of it and what we thought, let's take a look at how it's played.
That would be good.
First, let's take a look at some of the components here. We've actually got, first off, the miniatures. Take a look at these miniatures. This is one of the heroes. And then you've got the bosses. Oh, hold on, let's see if we can focus. Oh, look at that. Look at the detail on that. Really good. And you've actually got the Leviathan in there, and all of these minis are just, component quality is incredible. Here we go. Oh, look at that. So nice. Zombies or infected themselves, you're actually using cubes. All of these cubes represent different things. There's a legend on the board that will show you what it is, but pretty much these gray cubes are fatties. Like zombie-side fatties, the white ones are dogs. They're going to move twice as fast. The purple ones hit a bit harder. The green are typical infected. The black are paranoia. If you draw one of these out of the bag, then that actually goes on your character and hinders him. These are survivors. And these are barricades. These are the only ones that don't go into the bag. So then, you're then going to put everything into the bag, which is called the abyss. And this is where you draw the infected out, and you draw everything out as the game goes on and asks you to. So everything goes right in here. And it's nice, pretty nice, called the abyss. It's a black bag. That's pretty cool. Then you've got the Nightmare deck. This deck is very interesting in the fact that when you turn it over, there's a lot going on. All of these are going to be used in different areas of the game. When you're going to place a boss or an obstacle, you're going to look right down here. It tells you where to put it. If you're going to try to draw an item, then you're going to look right down here and you're going to see if you successfully draw an item. For example, here I did. However, if I drew this, I'd be getting a survivor, and this, I get an infected out there, I get some stress. Every single part of this has a purpose. This is used for foundering tokens. This is in case something has to happen to a character, it tells you the random one. This is an event. So this deck is being used over and over and is shuffled at the beginning of every day. And you flip it, and this makes the game random and really changes everything. Your characters. Every character has asymmetric abilities. All right, so right here, this is their night action. This is the day action. Night actions are free. Day actions you have to use an action for. This is how they shoot if they have no items attached to them. So this guy uses an old gun. He can shoot once, do 1 wound, range of 1. And this is his melee attack. So if somebody's right on him, he can only do 1 damage. They also have, everyone has their own item decks. So as you search, these items are what are going to show up. And different things on the item decks mean something different. This is actually a starting one. If you start on easy, you get this. This means it is one-time use. This means you can only use it during the night. This means you can only use it during the day. And this means you can only use it at dusk, at a certain time at the night. So all of these items, everybody has their item deck and it goes with their character. Okay, so this is the board and the setup. These are your survivors right here. Now the whole idea is these survivors are fleeing Venice and they're trying to get to one of these escape points. They are here, but they are represented by this group token right here, which is on the map. And they have 3 days to do it. So you've got day, night, day, night, day, and night. And by night, you better be at one of these areas. Also, the board has legends that will remind you the cubes we talked about, which zombies they represent. That's up here, so you can know those at a glance. Also, setting up is something called the story so far, which we're going to go to in a second, but that legend is actually right here, so you can remember that as well. Then down here, you've got tokens that represent these characters. This is it's called a stress meter, but it's actually health points. So their hit points are going to be, every time you take a stress, you go one forward, all the way through, and then if you go off the end, you become incapacitated. Also, this is their activation order. This is decided at the beginning of the game, and it does not change. So every day and every night, they activate in this order. So it's very simple as far as that goes. And then down here are the pile of corpses. This is a really neat mechanic that I will show you in a second. All right, so this is the map. This is what the game is all about you trying to escape. Like I mentioned, this represents your group, and it is going to go depending on where you want to start. This is easy, medium, and hard. You have got 3 days to get from your starting location to one of these areas. This is the airship, these are boats, this is the Freedom Bridge, and this is the Holy Bomb. So you're going to want to move to this location. Normally moving from one place to another is 1 hour. However, notice the +1 here, so now that is going to be 2 hours. Later, foundering tokens are going to show up as well. If that's placed somewhere, that means that would be an extra hour. And you also cannot spend the night there. You have to move on through. So you have 3 days to get from one of these locations all the way to here and see if you survive. So before you start, you do something called the story so far. And that is where you use the abyss, which is this back building, and each character will reach in and pull out 1 cube. For example, right here, the gray cube, you check this legend over here, and this gray cube gives this character a stress. Then you can choose to do this again, or you can go ahead and hide, and that character can then get ready for the day, and then it's the second character's turn. If you do it a second time, you get another chance to pull the cube out, and you could possibly get some barricades, or you could get more stress. And then a third time is when actually you could take damage, but you could also get an item. So the whole idea behind this is hopefully you will build up some barricades. You may get some stress, but you could also get some items. So when you start the day, you're not really behind the gun. You're kind of ready to begin and ready to fight. Okay, so you start at sunrise right here. Now you draw a card and it tells you where a foundering token goes. This one, it says it goes in 3. So I'm going to take this foundering token and I'm going to place it right here. This tells me it'll take 1 extra hour to navigate to here. So you have to look at that depending on where you're going. It might change the direction of where you want to go. Then after that, an event is drawn. And on this one, you draw another nightmare deck and you read the event here. This is place 4 barricades in the storage. That will be useful. They're not all good. Sometimes they're bad. That would be set right here. And then there's the group movement. And that's when you move, like we talked about before on the board. You decide, say we just go to 6 there. Then that takes 2 hours to move there because the movement 1 and +1 because of the +1 right there. If I decide to go there, that would be 3. However, I would only have 1 hour left in the day, so I probably would not do that. Then you get to move here, and everyone here gets to activate. At this point, people will probably have stress because of the day so far, the story so far. And you will start to activate using your token to go each way. Now, their activation consists of one of a few actions. Number 1, they can rest. Rest will allow them to heal 2 stress. Also, they can get barricades, which they can get 3 barricades and drop them into storage to get ready later in the day. You can also use the daytime ability, which we talked about before, that is on their card. Or they can search, and searching would be grabbing the nightmare deck, looking here and looking down here and hoping that it's this. If it's this, you get an item. It could also be an infected, or it could be a survivor. So that is an option as well. They can also have a special action on certain cities, but there's nothing here, so that doesn't matter. And there's also reanimate, and that's if somebody has actually become incapacitated, you can bring them back. And that's it. Each person does that, and then once you reach the end, that is the end of that hour, you go here and you do it again. This is a nice way to kind of build up these barricades and also get rested before the night begins. After all the hours are up, you then move to sunset here. Now sunset, you're going to discover terrain. Now the terrain where you are is shown by right here, the dots in the corners. And so this one has 2 black and 2 yellow. So you're going to grab some of those terrains, and this tells you where everything goes. So example right here, this would go in West 2. You do the obstacles first, and then you're going to place your barricades. All of these you got before. You're going to slowly put these around your characters, and this is kind of going to enable you to have a little bit of protection if anything gets there into ring 1. Hopefully you're going to have a lot more than this. A lot of times you can actually have a full ring around you. Then the character entrance, this is where you decide. You don't have to keep them here. You can move before the night starts, wherever you want everybody, and you'll probably want to do that depending on the barricades and depending on which way you're wanting to go at the end of the night. Then you have the boss entrance. That uses these boss tarot cards we looked at before, and it will depend on what day you're on, and also if you're on easy, medium, and hard. So say I'm on first day, then I'm on easy, that would be 2. So these 2 bosses show up. We got the dog guy like him, and then you've got this Hercules guy here. So these guys would enter, and where do they enter the board? Well, you go back to the Nightmare deck. Right here, North 2 is where the first one enters, and you draw another one for the second. And both of them will then enter in their respective areas. All right, so once sunset's over, you're going to move to the first hour of night. Now, this also has this icon here. Now, the first thing you can do is use items. You can use any item with this symbol right here, or because we're on the first hour, you can also use one with this symbol right here. So first things first, you use the items. And then the infected make their entrance. And the way you do that is you draw 3 for every quadrant around here. So I'll just drop 3 here. All right, so we drew no paranoia. But if you did draw paranoia, it would be placed onto one of your characters right then. Okay, so then once they're all out, everybody moves. So these guys move according to their boss cards. Everybody moves forward. All right, so now that everybody's moved, it's time for your characters to take their turn. Again, you use the activation down here, starting with character 1, and here are the actions they can do. Number 1, they can move. They can move from here to here, and that's in case they want to shoot in a different area or if they're needed somewhere else. They could also use their fire action, which, for example, this lady, if she uses her fire action right here, it is here. It has 1 shot, does 2 damage, and 3 away. So she could shoot all the way back here, shoot a dog, or do 2 damage to this guy. So you have a fire action. You also have assault. Assault is only used when they've already broken through the barricades and they're right there next to you. That's more hand-to-hand combat. Then you could do a survivor. That is if you have a survivor down here in storage, which we don't, you could take one of those and you could place it onto one of the boss tarot cards, and that kind of nullifies that boss for that round. You're kind of sacrificing the survivor. Then you could also, you get your night ability. Now your night ability, unlike the daytime ability, is free to use. So you can automatically use that. And then you just rinse and repeat. So you do that every time. You go here, you start again by using your items. The infected come back in. You're going to get more and more people coming through there. And you go all the way through until you hit dawn. Okay, so now we're going to act like we move forward to dawn. Dawn works differently because now you have to decide which way you're going to go on the map. So if this was us, we are going to be going west. This is the way we're going to flee from. So we're going to be running this way. So what happens at dawn, once you go there, you get an assault action. So really you're acting like, now this is a melee action, because you're acting like you are running through here and you're trying to attack anything there. So in this case, we could actually do some assault actions and get rid of these guys and not take any hits. But if there's a lot more in there, for example, this right here, we would get hit. So as you go through, say we only eliminated these. Hopefully the survivor's nice. Eliminate these. As you go through, you can then distribute the hits to whoever you want to. And then you get out. Okay, so once you actually make it all the way to one of the finales, that's when you actually set up the finale. So every finale has a different setup. This is the airship, the boat, and the Freedom Bridge. And also you've got the Holy Bomb as well if you decide to go that route. So all of these play differently than the core game. Let's go into one of my favorite aspects of the game, and that's the pile of corpses. So pretty much you're going to use these 4 cubes to arrange them here and place a pile of corpses on top. Every time you kill an infected, you can drop them from any height onto this area right here, the pile of corpses. Now it's pretty easy. Anything that falls off of here has to go back on the board, and the person that does that gets a stress. Unless you're here, then everyone gets a stress. Now this seems pretty easy. You could drop at any height, right? And it is easy. But then imagine what it's like when all of a sudden you've got all of these everywhere, and you can't drop them one at a time. You have to drop them all together. So then say you just killed this many, which you're happy about, but then you have to drop them. Boom, just like that. These 4 go back on the board. That is a very neat mechanic in this game. It's actually one of my favorites. So let's go back to the studio and see what we thought about it. Wow, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was, okay, so initially, there's a lot going on in this game.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot. Yes, thank goodness for the player aid.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is, I tried to do that, like,
The how to play.
the how to play shorter. There's no way.
No.
There's so much going on. So before we get into the game, component-wise, what do you think?
Oh my goodness, the components are amazing. I also like that style of artwork too. It's really good. I like that. But the minis, I love. They're gorgeous.
The minis are great.
Yeah.
The artwork, I love. However, the way the entire board feels, I don't know, everything just kind of seems, it kind of blends together.
Yes. Can I tell you, I watched the video that you made of the how to play, and seeing it from up above, I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. But when it's flat and you're looking at it kind of across the table, it's a lot harder to see than when you're looking at it from up above. Now I understand it a lot better than I did when we were playing it.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's helpful.
Really? You're just now understanding it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we had to open up the rule book and find out what they're talking about with the pit and the cave and everything like that, because it got a little confusing, like, what on earth are they talking about?
That's exactly it. The palette I wouldn't have chose. Now, the rule book is a mess.
Oh my god. Can I tell you, the first sentence of the rule book sums up this game. It says, Carnival Zombie is a simple game to learn, but very difficult to master. That is the first sentence of the rulebook, and there you go. Need I say any more?
It's weird because it is a simple game at its core, but it has a lot going on.
So much going on.
That's the biggest problem with that.
Every turn had so much going on.
Like you mentioned the cave and the pit. That's the one thing, the terminology of the cave and the pit, I know it gives flavor and all that, but it gets confusing the more it's being mentioned.
Correct. And particularly in the rulebook, they refer to it as the lane. And you're like, well, why can't we just call it the lane the whole time? Why do we have to call it the pit or whatever?
Are they in my cave, but they're not in my pit? They're in my pit, but not in my cave. So it's like, okay, just kind of say quadrant in brackets and stuff. And that was a big thing that I mentioned.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, the player aids on this, I'm a huge fan of player aids.
I love the player aid. Yeah.
But the player aids, this one honestly saves the game.
Yes.
Even if you know how to play, you played 2 or 3 times, towards the end, you're going to want to keep going back to this.
Yes. It helps you not to refer to the rule book that many times.
Yeah, because
you're already referring to the rule book a lot. this rules out a few more times.
And yeah, you're going to look at this a lot, and this...
You need it.
There's no way for this game to function without this play rate.
I'm so glad they had a play rate. And I liked how the play rate was set up. It was very like organized step by step by step. It worked.
It is. Everything is broken down to sunset, carrying out the night, the sunrise, the day. Everything is in there, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
The one thing I like about this game, I think that what makes it almost confusing that there's a lot going on, is it's all these mini games within the game.
True.
So, I mean, you've got like push your luck.
Yep.
You've got tower defense type of thing.
Yep.
You've got the dexterity with the pile of corpses.
Yes.
You've got the campaign, the variability.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw in a roll and write, you could just sell in all the other games.
Like it's an all-in-one type of game.
Yeah, there's no roll and write. That's the expansion. It's not really.
That's like the next Kickstarter.
Yes, that's
okay.
we'll be getting in 2040.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's no. So that being that aside, the mini games are what are fun. This whole pile of corpses thing, when I read about it in the rule book, I thought that sounds silly.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at like, do you drop them from an inch, from like 2 millimeters, from 5 inches, and then it said from whatever height. I thought, well, that's going to be simple.
Yeah.
And it is simple.
Yeah.
For the first couple corpses.
Yes.
And then later you just get this anxiety, because I remember there were like 3 or 4 people around saying, okay, go ahead and do it. And you're like, oh, and they fall. And that's a really, really neat mechanic.
I do really like that. And it makes it that the more you're killing the zombies, the more then you're getting zombies everywhere when you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the biggest thing is, okay, player count.
Yes.
This says it goes up to 6 because there are 6 characters in there.
There are.
I would say the sweet spot in this is probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think you'd want 6 plays because this game is long. I think 6 plays would make it really long.
Yeah, and honestly, every character does so little on their turn that the majority of the game is moving everything else.
Yes.
Is setting up the monsters and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you get 1 action. If you push, you get 2 actions.
Yeah.
So if you have 6 players, that's going to really not be a lot of playtime per person.
No.
Now, that all being said, as a solo game, or a 2-player game, even a 3-player game where everyone controls 2 players.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the sweet spot.
I would agree with that, yeah.
4 is kind of iffy. I'm not sure about 4, but that's a big thing on that. Now, the other thing is the cubes as the zombies.
Yes, yes. When I heard about this, I was kind of like, oh, why didn't they do minis? I was kind of like sad about that, but my mind has been changed.
It actually works because
it really does work.
It makes me kind of revisit Zombicide.
It does,
Like, we like Zombicide. We have a lot of Zombicide on our shelves. But this right here shows the fact that these cubes are fine.
Yeah, you don't need all the zombies.
First of all, we don't have to go and paint all these zombies.
True.
Because really the zombies are just cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And they just kind of come and you can keep doing as many as you want, keep dropping them. And it makes sense to have cubes.
It works.
Even with looking back at Zombicide, you could easily have cubes there and then just have the abominations, which are the monsters. Those would show up occasionally.
And the heroes.
And the heroes.
Yeah.
But I think the cubes here work.
I would completely agree. The cubes are a great way to make this game work.
Yeah, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Now, it is swingy and random.
It is. I was going to say, when we first sat down to play this game and we were in the daytime, I was like, oof, I am not going to like this game.
Yeah, she didn't think that. She actually said it.
I did say, I let my opinion be known. I wanted to know how long this was going to take, all those types of things. Anyway, then we got to the nighttime and my opinion completely changed because we were actually doing something. I kind of feel like the daytime is almost a waste, but I understand you need it to be able to redo your stress and get items. I get why you have to have the daytime, but the nighttime is where it's at. That is awesome.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
And also the fact that when you first start this game, it's going to be hard to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest thing about this game, the downfall is the rule book. The rule book, if you make it through the rule book,
yes,
you're going to like the game, I think.
Oh yeah, you get a prize.
But I think the downfall is many people will not make it through the rule book.
Yeah, I can see that. Particularly with the first sentence like that.
Yeah, we read so many different parts of that rule book over and over and over.
Yeah.
But once you make it through, I like the game.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I do really, really like this game. Yes. I also like the Nightmare deck. I liked how that Nightmare deck, all the parts of the cards all did something different. If you're using it for the daytime, it determines your search actions. You know, then during the nighttime, it's telling you about your placements of zombies and so on and so on. I like how it has that multiple different aspects to it. That was great.
And that's really brilliant because you have one deck of cards that does all of that.
Everything, yeah.
So you don't have so many deck of cards just cluttering up the entire table.
Yeah.
One deck answers all your questions. You reshuffle it, you run it back.
There you go.
That I really like.
I did really like that. I also really liked the bosses.
Yeah, the bosses
were really good. Yeah.
The variability they add.
Yes, it makes every nighttime different. So you don't feel like you're repeating the nighttime actions over and over and over again. It's like, oh, this night will be different.
Now, it does make it swingy, because if you get a bad boss, it could really just change the game.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing medium or hard and you're getting 3 or 4 bosses. Some of those guys are extremely difficult to do.
Some of them are really hard, particularly with your characters that don't let you do like 2 damage. There's a lot of characters that only have 1 damage, so you can't kill the gray cubes or those big guys with the 2 shots.
Right.
That was hard.
I've heard it compared to Ghost Stories as far as difficulty, and I think it is, but it does kind of scale well if you want to go easy, medium, or hard.
I do like that.
And it's honestly, we've played it a couple times ourselves and with our gaming group, and it's become, in this short amount of time we've had it, it's become one of the favorites. And people are like, you know, let's run through it.
Oh, I even heard someone in our gaming group said that they don't want to play Zombicide anymore. They would like to play this game.
Yeah, and it's good.
That was a big statement right there, because this was an avid Zombicide lover.
And again, you've got the campaign where you can do the campaign, which is pretty much just 3 of the games as you run through. Or you can just jump right to the end and play a couple of finales.
Yeah.
So I do like that whole thing, so it depends on how long you have, what you can run through.
Talking about the finales, I love the final battles, how they're different. Once again, great.
There's so much, and then we're going to get into the back of the board and so much else. So anyway, in conclusion, what do you think about the game?
Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. I also like, this was a minor thing, how everything fit in the box. It just works.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I did not know it all just went in there, but it does.
The box, the whole, the inside is, the storage of it is so good.
Yeah.
And I really hate when you get a game, once you punch it, you just have bags in there, and you're going to have to find on Etsy or whatever and just raise the cost by wanting the components. But this right here, it's brilliant.
They thought that through. That was good. Okay, so final thoughts. I really like this game. It's a winner.
All right, well, what's your number?
My number, I'm probably looking at 7.5, 8-ish.
Okay, I would probably give mine an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it would be higher if it was easier to learn or to teach.
Yeah.
But I would give it a solid 8 because I know it's going to hit the table a lot for us.
I can see this game being played a lot.
And I can see people that you play it once, and they're going to want to run it back.
They're going to want to play this. They want to keep coming back and playing those different scenarios and those different final battles over and over again.
So many monsters out there to try to be. It's so good. So anyway, that is Carnival Zombie 2nd edition.
Yes, it's
right here.
It's a good one.
Yep, you can get it on Kickstarter, or you can pre-order it, and you probably don't have to wait 3 years like I did.
You probably
but well worth it.
It was worth the wait.
Carnival Zombie. All right. Thanks, guys.